Developed in the Soviet Union by Tupolev in the late 60s, the Tu-22M is a class in itself. An intercontinental long-range supersonic strategic bomber and maritime strike aircraft with variable geometry wing that is currently in service. Its predecessor, the Tu-22, which will have its own video as it is considerably different, had been a disappointment for not meeting the requirements of intercontinental range. That's why it evolved to the new design Tu-22-1000, which when it appeared was a shock in NATO, and they were forced to look for countermeasures against this powerful attack aircraft whose tasks in times of war would have included, among other things, attack missions to large groups of aircraft carriers. Welcome to a new video of the World of Aviation Aeropedia in one. In 1962, with the introduction of the Tupolev Tu-22, it became increasingly clear that the plane was inadequate in the bomber role. It was not even superior to the plane it was intended to replace in this role, the Tu-16. Because of this, work began on a major update. Initially, the design office planned to add much more powerful new engines and variable geometry wings were considered, which the original Tu-22 did not have. This for good performance in takeoff, landing, efficient cruising speed, and an optimal maximum speed at low altitudes for deep penetration missions and low-level flights over the sea. The aircraft was designated Tu-22-1000. This designation was used by the Soviet Union during the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks arms control negotiations, delimitation of strategic weapons in the Cold War, creating the impression that it was only a modification of the Tu-22. Other sources suggest that it was an internal deception to facilitate budget approval and that it was originally going to be called Tu-26. The Tu-22-1000 made its first test flight on August 30, 1969. There was no prototype as such, but 9 pre-production units were completed for initial flight tests, but it turned out that the speed and range were much less than expected, so it was followed by another 9 units of the improved model Tu-22-1001 from 71 to 72, now with variable geometry wings. But the first major serial production version began with the improved model Tu-22-1002 with larger and completely redesigned wings as well as an elongated fuselage, and in the end it ended up overcoming all the design problems of the previous model Tu-22. The M2 had new twin Mk-22 engines and large air intakes similar to those of the Western F-4 Phantom II fighter bomber. A new higher main landing gear placed at the base of the wings instead of containers under each wing of the plane. It is primarily armed with long-range naval anti-ship or cruise missiles, usually 1 or 2 Raduga Kh-23, right at the wing bases, one on each side of the landing gear. The later and final model of this design, with several improvements and updates, is the TUV-23-1003, which made its first test flight in 1976 and entered service only in 1983. It was equipped with the new Mk-25 engines of superior power, with large adjustable gas outlet nozzles and new air intakes, larger, elongated almost to the cockpit in the form of a wedge, similar to the design of the MiG-25 or the F-15 Eagle fighter. These air intakes are more suitable for supersonic flights, with side openings in the center of the air duct, like small gates that open to allow more air to enter the engines, and this is useful in low-altitude flights and during takeoffs and landings. Variable angle wings were installed with a greater degree of inclination and braking ailerons, which open upwards and downwards to achieve landings on shorter runways. The nose housed a new Leninet BNAD radar with a longer range. The new navigation system improved low-altitude flight, specially designed for naval bomber missions flying low over sea level. It had a tail turret right in the middle of the two twin engines, with an automatic cannon controlled by radar remotely from the cockpit. A new rotary launcher for KH-15 missiles or conventional freefall bombs was installed in the cargo bay. It is a twin-engine design of long-range strategic bomber with variable geometry wings. It has a maximum takeoff weight of 124 tons and a range of 2,410 kilometers with the internal fuel tanks. Its maximum speed is 2,000 kilometers per hour or Mach 1.88, and it has pylons under the wings, the fuselage, and an internal weapons bay with a capacity of up to 24,000 kilograms of armament. Thank you. The crew members enter the cockpit through 4 large hatches located 2 on each side of the cockpit, which open upwards like gull wings. The pilot and co-pilot sit in front. The radar engineer and gunner are seated behind the cockpit, all in independent ejection seats. A small number of the new M3 supersonic bombers were converted to the new improved variant Tu-22M with the new side-looking radar and other longer-range radar equipment, the INT. Some Tu-22M were upgraded to the new and final improved version Tu-22M. In total, about 500 Tu-22M supersonic bombers were manufactured in all their variants, but it is not known for certain how many are currently operational in Russia. In January 2012, Russia had reported that they were modifying 30 of their 1000-3 bombers to the new standard of the experimental model Tu-22M-1000-1000. In this version, the electronics of the command cabin had been improved, making it more modern, and it is also capable of carrying new high-precision smart bombs with a global navigation satellite system, navigation system, and it has a new in-flight refueling system that the M3S no longer had since they were removed in the 80s to comply with the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks Arms Limitation Treaty. The role of the Tu-22M in the Cold War would have included maritime attacks against high-priority targets such as NATO aircraft carriers. However, it first saw combat in Afghanistan in 87 and 88, dropping large tons of conventional munitions. They were also used in combat during the First Chechen War in 95 and in 2008 in the Georgia War, and from 2015 to 2017 they were used in the Russian military intervention in the Syrian civil war. Until a new video, my name is Marcos and this is the Aeropedia of Aviation World.